The automated tools I use, there's a range, and there's a range I recommend in the book. Some of them, as described in the book, you can use the free modes, and that's great. But there's two or three where, to really get the benefit of the approach, you need to step up to the premium versions and pay for those. And there's a monthly cost. I've done the maths, and if you do all three of the premium tools that I recommend, for most authors who are selling their books at around $3.99, you'd need to sell one extra book a day in order to make the approach pay for itself. Okay. The tools that, in no particular order, Social Oomph, which is a great name, is the tool that I use to drive all of the scheduled tweeting. Okay, so I have lots of tweets that I've queued up in Social Oomph, ready to push out. There are other applications, and I explore those in the book, like Buffer, like Hootsuite, and so on, that do this. But Social Oomph, for me, when I did all the research, allows you to define multiple queues with different properties, so that you can tweet different groups of content at different times. And whereas Buffer, which is a great tool and very well known, only has kind of one queue. So Social Oomph is great for setting up your queues, loading up the content that you want to tweet, and letting it do that on your behalf. Okay, and some of those can be promotional, some of those can be stuff about you as an author. It doesn't, not everything I tweet. In fact, 10% of what I tweet is deliberately promotional. Okay, the rest is designed to be helpful, to be adding value to other people who follow me. Otherwise, I'd just be spamming people. Okay, the second use of Social Oomph is to take content from other websites that are relevant to you and the content that you're pushing out, relevant to you and your books, whether they're fiction or non-fiction. And so you can link to sites that all have what's called an RSS feed. Okay, and this is the ability so that when they publish a new story, the RSS feed pushes that out, and Social Oomph will monitor that, and then will create a tweet for you in pretty much real time, so that as news breaks or as the sites that you follow release new stories, you're already tweeting them. Okay, and this is all done automatically. So not only are you tweeting or scheduling tweets based on content that you've set up, but also on content from other sites, okay, which really does add value to other people if you've chosen them correctly. Okay, so that's one tool. Another third-party tool I use is a product called Roundteam. Okay, and Roundteam is all about automating retweeting. Okay, so retweeting is an important aspect of Twitter, in order that when you see interesting content, you retweet it and share it with your followers. Your followers are happy, the person who you retweeted is happy. The problem is, of course, that takes time, and you have to be monitoring your Twitter feeds to look for content. Roundteam does this on your behalf. So it's you can set up to scan Twitter for all sorts of phrases or whatever. The easiest way to do it is to set it up based on hashtags. Okay, so if there are hashtags that are relevant to you and what you write about, you can use Roundteam to then scan Twitter for people who are already tweeting on those subjects using those hashtags, and then you can retweet them. Okay, I then, in the book, obviously, I talk about lots of other filters that you need to put on there to make sure that you filter out stuff that really isn't relevant, despite someone having used the hashtag, so that generally what you're retweeting is actually really useful. Okay, so that's retweeting. And then the last major tool I use is for helping me to find people to follow, and of course to unfollow people. That can't be truly automated. Twitter's terms of service prevent any kind of automated tool that will, actively just go and follow people like a robot. That can't be done. It used to be done 3 or 4 years ago, but that's all changed. Tweepy allows you to find the people to follow. Okay, I do that based on looking at other authors like myself who've already amassed an interesting following. I filter down on their followers for the right kind of people. Talk about the criteria for that in the book, and then I then rapidly follow those people. It's a very quick process to click through essentially a whole list of people to follow. That's important because many people who are followed will then follow back somebody. It's just one of those Twitter etiquette rules, which is great. But you can also use Tweepy to unfollow people. When you get into Twitter and you start heading up towards having followed 2,000 people, then you hit a ceiling in Twitter if the number of people who follow you isn't within 10% of that. So actually it's very important all the way through to unfollow people who actually haven't followed you back. I give them 7 or 8 days from having followed, and then I'll use the tool to unfollow them. And that way you will then create a following on Twitter using Tweepy in the fastest way possible, certainly in a few minutes a day of doing this activity. And your follower count will grow through the roof. Mine generally grows at around 400 followers a day. Okay, and I'm well over 48,000 at the moment on one of my Twitter handles. So it's an important aspect to follow people and unfollow people in that way. So that's 3 of the main tools that I talk about in the book. There are others. There's lots of. I use TweetDeck as a way of looking at my feeds on Twitter. So that's part of my 15 minutes a day is to review when people are talking to me on Twitter. When they mention me. So I used TweetDeck to set up columns so that I can see all those and filter out all the rest. And that allows me to then engage in conversation with those people. Because the important piece about this is, as I said, is to be personable, to be yourself. I'm maximizing the automation as much as possible, but it doesn't replace you being yourself when you talk to people on Twitter. So that's really important. So TweetDeck allows you to filter out all of the other noise, focus down on the people who are having conversations with you. It also allows you to do other things like, if there's certain hashtags that are relevant to you that you want to follow, you can see all those displayed in one column and then start interacting and having conversations with people. But that's the main. So the main part of my 15 minutes a day, having set up all the automation, is following and unfollowing people and then using TweetDeck to review all the mentions and engage in conversation with people on Twitter. So this is the book, Advanced Twitter Strategies for Authors. And if you'd like the chance of winning a copy of this, then you need to click on the register button above, and you'll have the opportunity to win one. There's a draw every month. And if you'd like to buy a copy for yourself, then there's a link to the left which you can follow, and that will take you through to all the places the book is available.